Now that we have imported the stepper motor, we have to, or the stepper library, we need to actually, what we do is we basically create stepper motor objects, we'll call them. Okay, and so for our drawbots, we have two stepper motor objects, and so I'm going to create one for the left motor, and then I'll let you go ahead and do the second one for the right one. And so again, we're going to go back to the library and look at the example here. Okay, and so you've got the include statement. We have this thing right here where it says const int steps per revolution. We'll talk about that in a second. And then here where it says initialize the library, stepper byj, then it says my stepper, and then parentheses got all this stuff. So let's break this down. So what this library does is when we initialize the library on an object on a stepper, what we're doing is we're basically creating an instance of a stepper byj, which is defined in this file. And by doing that, we basically are creating an object that can use a set of functions, and the set of functions are like to set a speed, to take a certain number of steps. Okay, so it can do those are the two main functions we're going to use. And so what this does is it simplifies the process of stepping through those coils. We can do it manually, but if we do it manually, the code's going to get pretty complicated, and so using a library like this simplifies that part for us. Okay, and so the way we do that is we're going to say, call it a stepper byj. Okay, and you can even just copy this whole line in if you want. We'll copy these 4 lines into our example. So what we're going to say is this. So we have a stepper byj. We'll call this one the left stepper. Okay, and so it says right here steps per revolution, and so what this represents, this value here, the first value we put on here represents the number of steps it would take for this stepper motor to go in a complete circle. So for the motor to turn 1 full revolution, it's going to be this many steps per revolution. So we define it right here. And so here it says 64 times 64. And so the motor itself turns, it has 64 steps in one rotation, and then there's gears in there to gear it down a little bit by 64 times. And so 64 turns of the motor is going to cause 1 turn of the of whatever's attached to the motor. Okay, and it's actually a little bit different. I think it's slightly less than 64, like 63 point something something something, but we'll go ahead and use this. Okay, and we use this term const here to say whatever this value is, it's constant, it's not going to change. So it's different than a variable in that if we just said int steps per revolution, we would be saying this is open to change by the program. When we say const int, it's not going to get changed. Okay, and so we say, okay, left stepper, steps per revolution, and now we're going to change these 4 numbers, okay, to represent the numbers, the pins where it's connected on the Arduino. So on the stepper motor, there's 5 wires. There's a red one that's connected to the input voltage, and then there's 4 pins that are connected across the chip to the Arduino. Let me show you an example. Here you see one of the stepper motors. Okay, you see the red wire right here, which is connected through this wire right here to this row, which connects to 5 volt. Okay, these 4 ones right here across this row, so we have this chip in the middle, and this leg is basically connected to this leg, which connects to this wire, which is connected to the Arduino to one of the pins. And what happens is this pin is going to, when we turn this pin to high, it's going to say send current through the controller into that pin so that this coil gets energized. So basically what's going on here is that these individual Arduino pins can't produce enough current to power this motor, and so we have our input voltage connected to this controller right here at this first pin, and then the ground is actually on the other side here. And so what happens is when we turn this on to high, we're activating this switch and sending current to here, and the same thing for each of the pins. When we activate this one, it's turning that one on. Okay, and so you're going to look, and for this stepper motor here, we would choose the 1, 2, 3, 4 pins that are connected to that one, and then for this stepper motor here, we'd choose the 1, 2, 3, 4 pins connected to that one. Okay, and you would include that in your sketch. So it might be like 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever series. And one thing you can do, if you notice that when you get it set up, if you notice it's backwards, you can switch the order to reverse it. Okay, and so if when you're trying to go forward, this thing is stepping backwards, you can reverse these to fix that problem, and that should take care of it for you. And then finally, if you want to test it, we can go back to our library here, see our example, and we see in the test that we're going to set the speed, and then we can step it a certain amount. Okay, so I'm going to copy these two lines here. Okay, let's actually copy these two lines. Right, let's copy this right here. Okay, so in the sketchbook, I'm going to just put this in the setup for now, and this is just to test it. Okay, set speed RPM. So for each stepper motor, we have to set the speed. I'm going to put this at about 7.5 rotations per minute. With this particular library, it seems like this is kind of the cap. You can experiment with it. If you want to try a different library and explore that kind of direction, that's fine with you as well. And since we called this left stepper, we're going to make this left stepper. Okay, so wherever it said my step, we're going to change that to left stepper for the one that we made. Okay, and so this is going to now set the speed to RPMs. It's going to step it forward 1 full rotation, and what we can do now is we can actually do this again and make it a minus, so it's going to step it back the other way. And since we put this in the setup portion, it's only going to run through this one time. Okay, if you want it to continue going back and forth, you can move it down to the loop, and it will do it a whole bunch of times. Okay, and so now you've gone ahead and created an instance of a left stepper motor. You've tried stepping it. Okay, we've set the speed of it, and we've declared the number of steps per revolution. The next step here is going to be to create an instance of the right stepper. Okay, and to test it out here, just make sure it works. This line right here and this line right here, they only need to be included these one time in the beginning. Okay, so go ahead now, create an instance of a right stepper, get the right stepper motor to work as well.